Good evening and welcome to the Digital Excellence Pharma Academy for yet another Friday of learning and development. So I will just briefly give you an overview of what we are attempting to do with our partnership with the CredoWeb in establishing this Digital Excellence Pharma Academy. We plan to have a series of 40 plus webinars every Friday at 5 p.m. based on different topics for sales and marketing professionals in the Indian pharma industry so that they gain the knowledge and skills that are required to be able to implement digital strategies in their own companies. So we have a whole lot of people like Deep Bhandari, Salil Kalyanpur, Mr. Hariram Krishnan, uh, enabling you to understand and gain a clearer understanding of what is involved in adopting digital. At the same time, we have a partner, CredoWeb, who at any point of time has the capability to partner with you to roll down a digital strategy whenever you think you are ready for it. So every Friday, the first Friday, I will be taking a session that will be of interest to the pharma field force, the medical reps, the frontline managers, the second line managers, and probably even third line managers, and everybody, in fact, who is involved, including the marketing team, in developing the competence of their field force, or the issues that are involved in field force, the challenges faced by field force. So that will be the first Friday of every month. On the second Friday of every month, Deep Bhandari will be taking you through the challenges of different issues like how to make your CRM more effective, how to create a winning organization. So something that will be of interest to the senior managers, middle managers, and those who are business unit directors and others who are interested to gain a greater understanding of the marketing strategies involved in pharmaceutical business. And on the third Sunday, Salil Kalyanpur, our digital evangelist, he will take you through the entire gamut of understanding what's involved in adapting digital into your marketing strategies. And finally, on the fourth Friday at 5 p.m., Mr. Hariram will be talking on what is leadership has to do in enabling digital adoption. So that's the overall picture. In addition to Deep Bhandari, Salil Kalyanpur, and Mr. Hariram, we will be bringing in a whole lot of industry professionals like we have done in our conferences at the CEO Roundtable, at Brandstorm and Digistorm. So same thing we will continue. So you will have the advantage of listening to 20 to 30 industry experts over the next 1 year and learn from them. So if you are ready for yet another session of learning, here we go. I will just briefly take you through what Deep Bhandari shared because I need to reinforce the learning that Deep has so wonderfully brought about in his session. So I think Deep raised a very important question by asking, are we really in the business of prescription generation? Something that we take for granted and we think that we are actually in the business of prescription generation, which is true. But I think what he wanted to make it clear was that there are many ways of generating prescription. And sadly, however, many times we have just stuck to one way of generating prescriptions through transactional methods or transactional selling, and this has brought about a certain amount of fatigue both among the field force and among the doctors because it's not sustainable, and it has also made as something like a useful tool like CRM, which is supposed to give insights to the field force so that they can make more meaningful calls leading to building better relationship with customer, becoming just an inspection tool. So do listen to the discussion that I had with Deep Bhandari. It's still available on YouTube. I have shared the links on various social media platforms. So the essential learning is, in today's session is that how do you move from transactional to value-based selling so that you can build a meaningful relationship with customers that will lead to engaging them and creating better experiences for customers. Deep also gave us a very useful grid to assess the various levels of loyalty of our customers, based on which we could base our strategies, as well as resource allocation being done appropriately to the loyal customers, to those who are loyal to customers, and also not to waste our resources where customers just serve on demand, or where you're not really clear about what exactly is their contribution. And then we had another interesting session with Salil Kalyanpur, raising a very pertinent question and asking, where is pharma in the evolution of marketing? From listening to what our conversation mostly is all about prices, it looks like that we are in commodity business, although we would like to say that we are in the branded business. And Salil also made it very clear that to be able to build brands in the new normal or in the digital era, you will need to be able to engage customers and create experiences for them, and that is the way forward to develop customer loyalty and build great brands. So services engage customers, and customers are loyal not to brands, but to the experiences those brands provide them. This was also another learning, the final slide of his session, telling us that the external environment has shifted, therefore pharma must pivot quickly and change its business model from selling products to customer engagement. And the new competitive advantage for companies is not the size of their field force, not the range of their products, but it is the new currency is actually data, or the information about the customers, which will help companies to create great experiences for customers, provide services that are relevant to their practice. So in the new normal, we need to be obsessed about customers, as he shared the quote from Jeff Bezos of Amazon, who have done so well in being obsessed with customers and producing such a fantastic results. So as you can see, both the sessions by Deep Bhandari and Salil Kalyanpur have all been about customers, customer loyalty, customer relationship, customer engagement, and customer experience. So we need to know a little bit more about customers. So before I take you through that, let me do a quick fun exercise. This is a rapid fire test. I will give you 10 questions that you will have to answer in less than 30 seconds, because these are questions about your spouse, and if you're not married, about your close friend with whom you hang around a lot. So you should be knowing the answers, very easy to recall, top of the mind. So let's start with the first question. Fire away. What is the person's favorite cuisine? I'm sure you have the answer to that, because you must have eaten it quite a few times if you've been with your spouse or a friend for any length of time. What is the person's favorite movie? I'm sure you've seen the movie together for some time. What does the person prefer, hot or cool climates? When did the person get his or her first job? Are they still working? Did they stop working? What is the person's favorite hobby? Who's the person's favorite actor or actress? What is the person's favorite holiday destination, so that you can plan your next holiday more meaningfully and create a better engagement and experience for your friend or your spouse? What was the person's first school? Where did they begin their education? What is the person's exact height? And finally, what is the person's weight? So I hope you got the answer to all these 10 questions. And here's what you need to do. You need to take your answers and the questions to your friend or your spouse and get them to correct it. If all the answers are correct, then you have a great engagement with your spouse or your friend, and you'll be able to create some wonderful experiences for them. But if you don't have the correct answers for at least 3 questions, then you might not have a loyalty issue, but actually a hostage issue where the person is staying on because they have no choice. So think about it. We think we know about our near and dear ones very well, but it's only when we are faced with the specific questions that we realize that we don't have much information. And without that accurate information, it is not possible to engage, much less create experiences that matter to the other person. And here's a beautiful quote by David Ogilvy, one of the great masters of the advertising world. He said, "The customer is your wife." So you cannot just treat customers with some routine messages that you give to them every time you call them or you visit them. There has to be something that will engage them and through which you can, along with your marketing team, create great experiences that will lead to brand loyalty and brand building for your company. Here's another great man, Peter Drucker. The customer never buys the product. The customer buys value. And this is something both Deep and Salil have been impressing upon, that pharma is obsessed with selling products. But they need to move away from this red ocean of pushing your products to the blue ocean of understanding your customer's needs, what he values, and using those drivers to engage your customers and create great experiences for them. So what do customers value? Well, we generally think that they value money, which is why I think that transactional selling has done so well. And it is true to some extent, but it's, as we have seen, as Deep has explained so well, it is not a sustainable model going forward. So what do customers truly value? Here are some pointers of how we can use value drivers to engage customers, and what are those value drivers. If you look at the medical profession, you will see that many of the doctors are driven by a motivation and a desire to do research. You will find these doctors in institutions like All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And nowadays there are many branches of AIIMS in India. You will find them in CMC Vellore. You will find them in many teaching institutions, including the ones you have in Bombay like KEM. Like we have St. John's in Bangalore, JIPMER in Pondicherry. Every city has some institution which focuses on medical research. And these doctors, in addition to practicing as clinicians, are also interested to learn more, to try out, to do research. And often these are key opinion leaders, or KOLs as you call them, or many of them are found in these research institutions. And then there are doctors who are interested in fame. They have a great capability, they have a lot of ability and good practice, but at the same time, they're also interested in fame. For example, I can tell you about Dr. Devi Prasad Shetty of Narayan Hridayalaya in Bangalore, or Dr. Naresh Trehan of Medanta in Delhi. If you are somebody who watches television and something related to healthcare, you will find these people on television quite often, despite their very busy schedule. So they are driven by fame. You know, they are what we call as medical celebrities. Of course, monetary driver is a common driver for everybody, but we have to use all the drivers together to be able to engage more customers meaningfully and create better experiences. There are doctors who are interested in career development, and you'll find them in almost all teaching institutions. They start off as lecturers, move on as readers and assistant professors and professors. So what is it that they value? Obviously, they will value a lot of publishing work, getting their articles published in peer-reviewed journals. So you should know those peer-reviewed journals. You should know where they have published, and therefore you will be able to better engage with these doctors. And then there are doctors who are interested in improving health outcomes. What do we mean by health outcomes? They're not just interested in treating their patients and treating them well. They're interested in treating the entire target patient population. For example, a lot of women in India have anemia right from menarche to menopause, including in pregnancy. So when they are using or recommending the use of Haematinics or any other methods to improve the status of these women, they want to have certain protocols which have worked and which can be used across the target population of patients. So the overall incidence of anemia comes down. So there are doctors who are interested, and these doctors, many times we call them as public health doctors. And then there are doctors who are interested in extending their influence. A lot of times you will find them very actively involved in the association of their specialty, often doing very good work in furthering CME and a lot of learning activities for the members of their association. So these are the very 6 broad drivers that you need to understand. I am sure that you have never looked at your customer list with this perspective. So it's good to look at this and give this feedback to your marketing team so that they can make informed decisions while creating promotional strategies for different types of doctors to make it more personalized, because only when it is personalized, we can create engagement and we can create experiences. So Salil asked 5 questions in his session. I'm going to look at only 2 of them. What exactly influences my customers? So many times we are clueless. How well informed is my marketing judgment? So the first question concerns the field force, the medical reps, the managers, line managers. They need to know over a period of time what exactly influences their customers. That is why I gave you this framework. And once this feedback is given to the marketing people, they can make informed marketing decisions to engage the customers and create experiences that matter to them, that those customers will value, and that will lead to prescription generation. Use the right value drivers to engage customers and create experiences in which the customers find value. So we are moving from pushing our products to engaging customers and creating experiences based on our knowledge of what they really value. So you need to be able to use the right value drivers to engage customers and create experiences in which they find value, so that eventually we'll move from transactional selling to becoming a trusted advisor. Something I really liked listening, and especially the examples which Deep Bhandari was able to give. So we will look in detail as to what does a medical rep or a frontline manager or a second line manager need to create a team of trusted advisors who can create value for customers and develop customer loyalty and a great recall for their brands. So value is like taste. It is determined by individual customers. Somebody likes it spicy, somebody likes it plain. Different customers value different things. The challenge is to find which customers value what and deliver those values consistently. And I think this is where the role of field force is so important, because they are the ones who are in touch with customers day in and day out, month after month. But are you observing your customers? Are you trying to listen to them? Are you trying to map out their touch points so that you can have a better understanding of what do they really value, and therefore be able to personalize your promotion, which leads to engagement and experiences. So that's from the customer's perspective as to what they value. What else do they value when it comes to their expectations from the field force or the pharma companies or the people who meet them? What do customers value? So this was a survey that was conducted by Chally.com with 15,000 customers, which included doctors and hospitals. And this is what they came out with. An overwhelming 39%, almost 40% said they value salesperson's competence. So your competence is very, very important. In fact, it's the number one factor for customer engagement. And at 22% said they wanted total customer solution. So let me give you an example to understand what total customer solution is. There are two computer sellers. Computer seller A says, I sell computer, that's it. Once you buy from it, it's over. Computer seller B says, if you buy my computers, every month I will send my maintenance person to your premise. He will upgrade the software, remove the viruses, and make sure that the computer is working fine. Which one would you prefer? Even if you have to pay a little more because you're making a big investment, I'm sure that you will want to buy computer from a person who offers not just a computer, but a total customer solution. So for a pharma company, what does it mean to offer total customer solution? And that is exactly where we come when we say finding out what they value, what drives them, and using those value drivers to engage the customers and create better customer engagement and build loyalty with his customers. 21% said quality of the product. You might think that why only 21%? That's because in today's time, product quality is a given. Yeah, without quality, you just can't enter into the market. That's taken for granted. And only 18% said competitive price. And that's very surprising because most of the time we hear from salespeople that the objection is primarily sales. And that is probably a clear indication that you are in the commodities market and you need to improve your competence. You need to be able to give total customer solution to move from the commodity space to the engagement and experience space. So look at this, 61% of customer satisfaction is within your sphere of influence. That is the influence sphere of the marketing and the sales people. So the competence of the salespeople and the ability of the marketing team to develop total customer solutions, 61% is within the influence sphere of influence of the sales and marketing team. Leave out what is outside your sphere of influence instead of focusing on that, but focus on improving your competence and understanding the customer better so that you have ways to engage them that will create great personalized experiences which they will appreciate and remember over a period of time. So then the question becomes very important. If competence is such an important factor, What exactly is competence? And I'm sure that different words come to each one of your minds when you hear the word competence, and they're all right, probably. But for the purpose of our learning and being able to implement the learning in such a way that our competence goes up, we need to have a common understanding of the term competence. So let me make an effort to simplify and make it understand for every medical rep, every frontline manager, what exactly is competence. What do doctors mean when they say they want to see competence in the salesperson? First of all, it begins with knowledge. When we hear that a particular doctor is a very competent person or a competent doctor, the first thing that comes to our mind is that someone who is well read, who has read a lot of books, who reads a lot of journals. And this is one more way of understanding the value driver of customers. When you visit a doctor's clinic, what do you see? Do you see a lot of books, the latest journals, or do you see a lot of movie magazines and something else? So there's your clue to understanding customers to be able to engage them. So knowledge is the first component of competence. And the second component of knowledge is skills. Skills is nothing but knowledge put into practice. A doctor can be well educated and well learned, but unless he begins to practice and treat patients over a period of time, he does not develop his skills. So the skills are very important. So knowledge and skills are something we normally say as the harder part of competence. And attitude and habits are the softer parts of competence. So attitude is very important. You can see this lady trying to make a painting with her foot. And in fact, in Bombay, you have an association of foot and mouth artists, a whole lot of people who use either their foot or their mouth to paint. So it's very important to have an attitude, a growth mindset, the ability to say, I can learn through dedication and persistence, however hard those skills might be. And finally, habits are very important because you can go to the gym for the first week of the year or the first month of the year, but if you don't keep it up, you won't have six packs, but like many of the frontline managers, once they put in a lot of years, they don't have six packs, they have family packs, right? So it's very important to have the complete combination of knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits, which incidentally spells cash. Very nice sound, isn't it? We like to hear the sound of cash. But this is a different cash. This is the K-A-S-H cash. But let's look at it. Competence is nothing but a combination of knowledge, attitude, or growth mindset, and skills and habits. When you have the combination of all these four as relevant to your field, that is when we can say you're a competent person. Now, why is competence so important? Why is cash so important? Because cash is important for field force, right? One of the things that motivates the field force people most is incentives, allowances, and getting it all on time. So what do the field force want from the company? They want cash. What do doctors want from the field force? We saw that they want competence, which is nothing but KSH cash. So when you have the needs of both the field force and the doctors met, that's where we meet at the intersection, which leads to customer engagement and experience and loyalty. So very simple and easy to understand for field force people, for sales managers and training professionals to make their field force people understand what you want is cash and how to get what you want is increase your competence. A very simple equation, nothing Einsteinian about it, no E is equal to MC squared. KASH cash brings CHS cash. And you look at any profession, take the medical profession for example, who gets more CHS cash, a GP or a CP? It's a CP. Who gets more cash as compared to a CP versus a super specialist? It's a super specialist. What's the difference between each of them? Each level has more KSH cash than the other. They work hard and study hard for many years and practice. In fact, many doctors, before they become super specialists, are 35 to 40. And that is why you must value their time and understand what do they really value. They have no time to waste. Their meter has been running for a long time. So this is very important for you to understand, so that you take a lot of time to develop the relevant KASH cache to be able to be useful to the customers. So knowledge, we all know what is knowledge, why knowledge, and how knowledge in the traditional sense, knowledge of all customers, therapy area, of all these things. Yes, this is all we need to know, but superimpose this with what we have just learned. What do you know about each customers? How well do you know your customers? What do they value? What is tastier to them? So when you know these things, you will be able to personalize, you will be able to give this information about each doctor, at least about your key doctors, to your marketing team, who then can use the digital platform and the many channels that it offers to customize the promotions to create great engagement and great experience on the digital platform, or a combination of both, which is what eventually we will see once the lockdown, as it eases. We will probably have a situation of both a combination of physical visits reinforced by the digital. So you'll have a hybrid rep who is able to do both physical calls and engage with doctors over the digital channels. So next comes attitude. And this is a quote which says that, it's our attitude at the beginning of a difficult task. When we start that task, that determines the outcome of that task. So in the beginning, everything seems difficult, but what's the attitude that we have? And I gave you the example of Chuck Yeager and the first person to fly a supersonic plane. There were not many pilots willing to take that risk because nobody had flown a supersonic aircraft before. It's the same with digital adoption. What kind of an attitude do you have before you adopt it? Do you think that it's something that's going to replace you, or do you think that digital is something that will be a force multiplier, that will make you much more effective, that will improve your KASH cache to be able to connect with doctors seamlessly? If that is your attitude, then like Chuck Yeager, you will be able to break barriers in the marketplace, because the barriers are not in the marketplace, they're all in our mindset. So the growth mindset simply says that all of us have this ability called neuroplasticity, which is the ability to learn new skills and habits. There used to be a saying in the olden days that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's not valid anymore. What matters is not your age, but your mindset. Do you have a growth mindset? And if you have that, then you will be able to acquire new skills and habit as hard as they are. So exercise your brain. Your ICANN is more important than an IQ. That's best demonstrated by this artist. Imagine the challenge that a person has to use his or her foot. So how do you paint? Do you paint with your hands, with a brush, with colors, or do you paint with your mind? I hope you are beginning to see the importance of removing the mental barriers to develop a growth mindset. And next comes skills. Here's a beautiful work by a sand artist. All that he creates with so much of skill is going to remain only for some time. He can say, I will do a shoddy job. But that's not professionalism, and we are all in pharma professional people. So whether our interaction is in the physical realm of 3 minutes or 30 seconds, or it's over the digital where we have access to the doctor depending on his convenience 24/7, it involves a lot of attention to skill. So knowledge, attitude, and skills, the most significant part of the competence components. So for the field force, the two of the most important skills are selling skills and communication skills. I'm not going to go into detail into this, but I will just give you an overview of communication skills, because often we assume that communication is very simple. But look at this over here. There are two people and you see the communication between them is very tangled. Why does it happen? That's because there are four layers of communication. What are they? What I think. Communications begin with our thinking or our thought process. Then what can I do? Put into words. What can I put into words? That depends on my vocabulary, on my fluency, and finally what I'm able to say. That depends on my state of mind, whether I'm nervous, whether I'm well prepared, whether I have rehearsed it, and finally what others really understand. So this makes communication a lot of challenging, a really challenging task, and that is where I believe that digital has a huge role to play, because when it comes to digital, there is very little chance for message distortion. If the field force has been able to communicate to the marketing team very clearly what are the value drivers and they have applied their minds while creating their marketing communication, the same communication that they transmit will be received by the doctor. And therefore, when the rep does a follow-up visit, the doctor already has clarity about the marketing communication, making the job of a medical rep or a field manager much more simpler and easier, because the doctor has already understood. The rep and the manager are there to work on the human component, on the emotional part, to create that relationship with the doctor by understanding more about him and using that to build relationship leading to loyalty, engagement, and all that we have been hearing in the month of May from Deep and Salim. So this is normally what happens in our communication. If you take the typical scene of a doctor, busy doctor outside his clinic, there are 20, 30 representatives and creates a lot of noise. Of course, some information is given, but stuff that might be actually useful to the doctor is minuscule. Look at it honestly. From the 10 calls that you make each day, how many calls would be just noise? How many where you have given some information? How many calls where you actually gave something that was useful? Even if the answer is 50%, you've done an excellent job. But often we don't even have an idea of how effective our calls are. So, how do you produce voice from noise? Go back to what we began. Deliver the value that matters to each customer. So you need to know what drives him. What does he value? And when you know that, then you will be able to move away from the noise, give some information, and hopefully something that is actually useful to him, that engages him, and that creates an experience which has a lasting memory in his mind, right? And finally, we come to the last part, the last component of competence, habits, very important. And we all know that old habits may be difficult to give up, but they don't open new doors. Your habits of the analog world will not be very useful in the digital world. That's why we asked for a growth mindset, to adopt a digital mindset. So you need to break your old habits, form new habits, although they may seem difficult in the initial stages, but because of neuroplasticity, because of growth mindset, you can develop new habits, because it is worth its while in the end. Because as you improve the final component of KSH cache, your CAHS cache will begin to improve as well. So here's the equation with us. Competence, spelled as KSH cash, leads to customer loyalty, which in turn leads to repeat prescription, which in turn is brand building. And LTV is nothing but lifetime value of customers, which is both the lifetime value of the customer in terms of patient and the doctor. Because if a doctor sees 10 patients every day and sees, has a 100, 200 patients, and the lifetime value of each of those patients, if they are consuming your drug because of customer loyalty, you can imagine the value that you will be able to deliver because you are a competent salesperson, right? So on the one hand, you have the hard skills, knowledge and skills, and the other side, you have attitude and habits, which we generally call as soft skills, high and low. No cash, no prescriptions. And that's the case with most of the new reps. And that's the reason they are not able to generate any prescriptions, because they don't have the competence, they can't engage customers, and no prescriptions. But with training, they develop some cash and they get minimum prescriptions. But as they progress in the organization, their cash goes up, moderate cash, and they're able to generate moderate prescription. But this is really where the managers, the training people should aim for their teams to be at. The high cash. What percentage of your team members would fall in this quadrant? Have you done an assessment? What about your own cash? Where would it be? Where would you fall in this grid? So these are exercises that's very useful that you need to do. And if you do this, I can assure you that you will have customer loyalty, you will get repeat prescription, which will mean a lot of sales and CHS cash for you. I hope that is very clear to you. Let me show you a quick movie of working without cash leads to loss of cash.
Mr. Landlord.
Yeah?
You smoking an army blanket?
Never mind about that. You owe me room rent.
All right, here's $28.
$28, fine. Just a minute. You owe me 13 weeks at $7 a week, and that happens to be a lot more than $28.
Well, that comes to $28.
Did you go to school?
Yes, sir.
Do you mean to say that you can prove that 7 times 13 is 28?
Well, it's got to be. Certainly it is, because Mr. Rabbit and I, that's $28. That's what you get.
If you can prove it, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will give you the room rent for nothing.
You will?
But if you don't prove it, you owe me double the back rent. Is it a deal?
That's a deal.
Okay.
Do you happen to have any Crayola on there?
Crayola?
Never mind. I got it.
Oh, you have?
I got the Crayola. 7 into 28 is going to come out 13.
That's your way.
That's my way. And it's got to come out right. Now, first, I put down a 7.
Right.
Now, I'm going to divide the 7 into 28.
Yeah.
I put a 28 there.
Okay.
Isn't that cute? Now, here we go. 7 into 2. 7 will not go into 2.
It will not.
That's a very big 7 to push into that little bit of 2.
I should say it is.
We ain't going to hurt that little 2, are we?
Of course you would.
So we take the 2, open your hand,
Yes.
and I put that 2 right there for safekeeping. But don't drop it and don't lose it. Now, 7 into 8.
Once.
I put the 1 over here, 1 over there. Now, we're going to carry the 7 because it's very big and it's getting heavy on my shoulders, and I'm going to drop the 7 under there. Now, 7 from 8
Is 1.
is 1. I put the 1 down there.
Mm-hmm.
Now it comes. Would you mind opening up your palm of your hand, please? I would like to use that 2. Open it up. Give me that 2. You've had it long enough. I'm going to put that 2 right there. Now, 7 into 21.
3 times.
That's right. 7 into 28. 13.
Wait a minute. You have to prove this even better than that. You can prove it very easily by multiplication.
You mean you want me to multiply it?
No, not multiply, multiply. Multiply.
All right. Multiply it.
7 times 13 is 28. Go ahead.
Now, first, we got to put down a 13, right?
Right.
There's a 13.
Times 7.
Times 7.
Right.
7 weeks times 13, right? 7 times 3.
21.
21. 7 times 1.
7.
7. 7 and 1.
8.
And 2 to carry. 28.
Now, wait a minute. I'm still not convinced. There's one sure way of proving this. One sure way, and that's by addition.
You want me to addition it up?
I want you to put 13 7 times on that wall and then draw a line and add them up.
You want me to put down 13 7 times?
That's right.
Come out right. There's 1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
3,
4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6.
7.
Wait a minute. What's the idea of spreading them out like that?
Well, it looks like a flock of seagulls going to hit the electric poles. Now we're going to add them up, right?
All right, go ahead.
Here we go. 3, 6,
Wait a
9.
minute. Let me do the adding this time.
Good. Come out right.
Well,
A 3, a 6, a 9.
Just a minute. I will do the adding. Then there'll be no mistake.
Yeah?
All right? $28 here. All right? Now,
Go ahead. You had it up. Go ahead.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21.
22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
So I hope that was good learning for you. As these two gentlemen, we learned from them what did not have the knowledge or the KASH cash about mathematics, and he eventually lost all the cash that he had. So as we come to the end of this session, this is a beautiful quote that I thought I'd leave you with. When setting out on a journey, do not seek advice from those who have never left home. So it's only natural that as we begin something new, like a digital transformation or a digital adoption journey, that we seek advice so that we know the way forward. But it's also important that we are clear on with from whom we are seeking that advice. And I just want to share with you about Medicine Man's digital journey over the years, and quickly share with you some of the issues that we have presented in Medicine Man as early as in 2013. And here is Salil Kalyanpur talking about what are the real challenges that pharma faces in terms of its mindset in adopting digital journey. And this is also Digistorm 2017 report. This is something that we do every year to equip Indian pharma brand managers to gain better understanding of not just the marketing challenges, but also in adopting something new like digital media. We've also had people from the industry like Manish Bajaj writing about crafting a digital strategy, a primer for Indian pharma based on his talk that he delivered at one of our seminars. And Manish Bajaj is the vice president at Dr. Reddy's. We even had people from outside the industry like Dr. Anand Rao from Axis Bank come and talk to us about their challenges and how they succeeded in adopting digital in the banking industry. Because if you remember, Salil has shared that how banking industry was one of the first ones to recognize the pain points of their customers and successfully deployed digital. And we now use it with quite a lot of ease. So we have been working in the digital space for quite some time now, bringing people from across the industry, from MNCs, from Indian companies to share their perspectives, and even conducting seminars where we have brought people from outside the industry like Kiran Kalap and Susan Joshi, who are pioneers in healthcare communication. So it's been a long journey for us and we have learned a lot. And this is what we would like to share with you as you begin your digital journey. And this is what is in store for those who have enrolled in the Digital Excellence Pharma Academy. In the forthcoming seminars, we are going to get a lot of industry professionals and even outside the industry professionals to share their perspectives about adopting the digital strategies. The whole objective being, to enable organizations to create a winning sales organization. And that is what Mr. Hariram Krishnan will be sharing. And based on his own experience as a managing director of Galderma India for 12 years. And we've also had workshops on creating a winning sales organization by Deep Bhandari, who has been with us in this journey for quite some time. So you have the availability of the expertise of all these professionals who have done some solid groundwork when it comes to digital adoption. And then now we have partnered with CreditWeb, and CreditWeb has solutions which can enable you to, which can make it easier for you to adopt the digital strategy. You can combine it with Medicine Man's expertise and the CreditWeb solutions to deliver digital strategy successfully. So thank you for listening in. I look forward to seeing you again next Friday at 5 p.m. With your friends and colleagues. So thank you very much, and good evening, and have a nice evening.